All right, guys, welcome to the Mad Maker Show. My name is Eloy. I'm the host. JP Woodwork over there, and today we have a special guest. We're going to be interviewing Bernie Solo from Works by Solo. Very interesting, and I think you're going to find some very curious and things we don't know really, but there's lots to talk about. So kick back and check that out. Before we start, for you guys that are visiting for the first time, we call this the Mad Maker Show, and the idea is we interview people that are talented and creative and unique in this world. They don't necessarily travel down the same path that the majority would, although they might, but in general are quite different and can be spotted, by the things that they do. It could be electronics, it could be woodworking, CNC, it could be drawing, music, anything, right? So these people are people that, folks might look at them and say, well, apart from the things that they do, they might think, well, boy, these people are kind of kooky, maybe mad. So we call it the Mad Maker Show. Maybe not mad like insane, like axe murders and stuff, but that could happen too. It's not unheard of, but I don't think in the case of Bernie, although we don't know, we'll figure out what the story is with this guy soon enough. All right, we're sponsored by Harnealmedia and Makers Media Network, and Jamie Page, right to you.
Well, hello. I'm here drinking coffee out of my Man Grafting mug. You can get one of these yourself by visiting mangraftingtm.com. All my social medias can be found at jp-woodwork.com. I'm 1/5 of Makers International Podcast. That website can be found at makersinternationalpodcast.com. Both sponsored by Harnealmedia, which will be found at harnealmedia.com. Couple of quick bits of news. Steve Twidell at Temple Boy Turnings has just announced his 20,000 subscriber giveaway. So you can go over and check that one out. And secondly, the Makers Rock album art collaboration extended the deadline day to the 28th of February. I got my words a little bit jumbled over there. 28th of February. And it is 90s this year. So, and there's quite a few people participating. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So you can go and check that out at makersrock.com. So that's it from me, Eloy. Back to you.
All right, dude. Thank you for that. And by the way, talking about, just let me put this out there. I'm going to be doing, what is it? Queensryche's album, the one where it has Silent Lucidity and Jet City Woman from the 90s, early 90s. So I'm involved, JP's involved, just a whole host of folks. So
yeah, I'm doing Mike Oldfield Tubular Bells 2.
Yeah, and actually it's funny. I do want to mention this, that leads into it. JP contacted me and said, hey dude, would you mind if you figured on doing a song for me, because I wanted to match with the album I'm doing? And I said, well, sure, send it to me. He sent me the track, and it's complete. It's actually the theme from
The Exorcist.
Is it from The Exorcist?
Yeah.
And so
it was originally from Tubular Bells 1, which was from the 70s. But Mike Oldfield has actually got Tubular Bells 2 and 3, which is in the 90s.
Right. So,
but the one I'm doing is the second one.
So yeah, I said okay. I listened to it, and it's completely different from what I would normally do. And I sat down and just wrote something similar to that, and sent the file to JP first. And then I said, well, you know what? I've been wanting to add free music downloads on my site, to generate traffic, have people come over, check out and then they can actually take with them something of value that they can use in their videos. So it's royalty free. You don't have to worry about any of that. And I'm going to be posting more of that on there. So you can check the links for that. And in fact, the links for everybody on this, in this show is going to be down in the description as well. So with that, Bernie, Welcome to the show, dude.
Yes. Hi, thanks guys for having me. Really appreciate it. It was a nice surprise when you invited me. I'm
It's
getting
our
teased
pleasure.
by Chad. Chad's messaging me to see what my reaction is when I get a message while I'm live.
Oh,
So what do you think, Chad? Was I surprised enough? I got a message from Chad. Okay.
Well, so, Bernie, I appreciate you coming on, and you're a very interesting fellow. You have a lot of uniqueness in your work, and we want to, people are going to be surprised. There's lots we don't know, more that we don't know than we do. But I want to start off. Where do you live? And please give us a little bit of your background history so that we have placement.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good place to start. I'm in Michigan, and it's north of Detroit, in a little small town. I live in the woods. My wife and I built our house about a dozen years ago, I guess. And we wanted to, just have a place that was both, a regular house to live in, but then also like a cabin, because we don't have a cottage or anything. So we kind of live just far enough away from the city that we can kind of get close enough, to commute, but still be far enough away. So that's the idea there. And I'm married, have 2 kids, 2 teenagers, keeping us really busy. What else?
No, that's a good start. What else you got? Hit us with something else.
What else
Just
do
random.
Well, I don't know if you two, probably not JP, but Eloy, have you ever been to Detroit?
I've never been up to Detroit. The furthest I've been to Chicago, up to New York. Never been to
Okay, well that's fine. You say. Anyway, Detroit's the motor city of the United States of domestic cars. So the home of Chrysler, General Motors, Ford Motor Company. So pretty much there's a lot of engineers, a lot of making going on. There's small industry, large industry, machine shops. There's people, mostly, machinists. Not so many. If I were to go through the trades, not as many woodworkers, but a lot of metal workers, a lot of people that do things that would be related to the automotive industry. And so as far as makers go, it's quite a hub. It's known as the robotics capital of the world because of the car companies, and the first robotics competition, which is, I'm a mentor for the first robotics, which it goes through all ages, all the way from young kids all the way up through high school, and I work with the high school teams. So it's really big in robotics. So there's a lot of making and technical stuff like that going on, a lot of innovation, a lot of inventiveness, things like that. It's very common. Like I've got a friend of mine, was a couple of people I know that are friends of mine that are working on the autonomous vehicles right now. There's actually in Michigan, there's a city where U of M is in Ann Arbor. There's a test area out there where there's autonomous vehicles that are on the road.
That's going to be a crazy. Around, That's going to be a crazy switch. I don't see how they can. I don't think that I could foresee. Although actually, it's possible. People are going to botch that one up too. There's going to be. There's still going to be some sort of accident going on, right?
Yeah, I know. I have so many questions about that stuff because it's very interesting, but I still can't imagine, because we get a lot of snow up here. It's really common, when it snows, it's usually, there can be 4, 5, 6 inches. Usually if it's more than that, then schools are closed and things like that. And I had a question about that, when it comes to the autonomous vehicles, if the vehicle or the system considers it to be too dangerous, to drive, does the car just stop? I don't know what's it going to do,
There's too many factors, right?
Yeah, well, they're working on it. They're working on it. It's very intriguing, though. It's really, it's a very exciting time to be living right now, and especially, like I said, I've got 2 teenagers. They're going to have jobs that aren't even invented yet. When they get to be my age, and that they'll be doing things that we don't even know. There'll be technologies that haven't been invented yet. So,
well, let me ask you this: let me ask you this. So you moved out to the country. A, how far away are you from Motor City? And B, when you made that switch, can you touch upon why a little bit more?
Yeah, well, when I was a kid, I grew up in a rural area, and I have got one brother, and he's probably listening right now. Hi, Carl. And we grew up in a rural area, and we had woods behind us. So my brother was big into building go-karts and all kinds of contraptions and things like that. And we had our BB guns and bow and arrow and all that stuff. And so then when I got married, we moved to more of a suburbia type of area, and it was this little yard and everything. And we lived there for a while. And my wife and I were married for about 12 years before we had our first child. And as soon as my son was born, I said, "Oh, yeah, we got to move out to the country. This kid's got to grow up in a place that's they got a place to roam and run around and places to play, go out in the woods and build a fort and all that stuff." So that's why we decided to do that. So I guess I started out in a rural area, then moved, had to be where everything was happening when I get out of college and start working. And then when I realized, it was more like about having a family and, raising kids and things. And it was like, I wanted, I had fun as a kid and, being in that scenario. So we just, that's why we just kind of, packed up and looked for some actual vacant land. So I literally cut the trees down myself where the house is now. Cut off a space in the woods, and we built the house. So
when I look at your videos, and let's touch a little bit on that. See, there's a lot to talk about. Actually, I'll just say this: your videos they look like they could be on TV. Or should be on TV.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment, but I also know that YouTube is the alternative for TV, right? So we want it to be better than TV.
Well, yeah, but let me let me qualify that. We were talking. Actually, I'll tell you a little thing. Weeks ago, and actually, I told you about this behind the scenes, if you remember. I was in a hangout, and your video. When you press the bell on, and by the way, guys, if you haven't pressed the bell on this channel, if you press the bell, you get notified when videos come out, because sometimes, or not even sometimes, they just won't pop into your feed to let you know that a new video is out. So when you click the bell, it reminds you. But anyways, I have that clicked for Bernie, and his new video had come out where he CNC'd this double wooded square. What was it, Bernie?
It's a pencil cup, and the only reason I did that was because I wanted to make that pattern on something, and I needed to get it out of my system. Get it done. I wanted to do something, and it was right before the holidays, so I figured, well, that'd be a good gift, to make a few of those as a gift. And I really wanted to work up a pattern. I had been thinking about it. It was on my to-do list for a while, so that's why I did that. And Eloy, thanks for the reminder about the bell button. Because I keep saying my channel is young. My channel's over a year old, but I don't do videos on a regular schedule. I really wanted to eventually do that, but the bell is so important for my content because it's really sporadic. So,
right.
I would appreciate that if somebody wants to see it, that they do click on that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that it's there for that. So we were talking on Hangouts, and I think Chad was there, and we were just shooting the breeze and stuff. Harnealmedia was there, and a bunch of other cats. And your video popped up on my feed, and I started watching. It's like they were talking, and I was watching your video. And when I was done, I was like, "Holy smokes!" I mean, the photography, the cinematography, the lighting, the transitions, the project itself. You just create everything, make everything very interesting, and do it in such a way that you think this is not removed any distance from a proper, full-on production with a lot, with everything taken into account. I see these things, so that's kind of what I mean. But I turned to them and said, "Hey guys, have you seen Bernie's latest, freaking video, man?" And they're like, like, oh, like they hadn't seen it at the moment, or they're like, oh man,
That's great. That's
his videos,
great. Oh,
yeah.
Thanks for telling me that story. I didn't realize that that's how that happened. I
Mhm.
thought you just watched it and then you
No,
talked
no.
about it. So you literally were in the hangout when you watched it.
Yeah, they were like, oh yeah,
That's
Bernie.
great.
Without watching it, they were like, oh yeah, Bernie's awesome, man. That guy's gonna blow up. I can't believe he hasn't blown up yet. that was the conversation.
Great, thanks. Yeah,
So
yeah. So what do you want to know about this? You want to know the secret recipe?
well, so here's the thing. Well, everything, right? But let's take it one at a time. And by the way, we do have, just to let you know, Bernie, that we do have questions. So I'm going to ask you a couple of things, and then we'll have, you know, JP, if you would.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, we love some interaction.
But I just want to touch, you know, on the video. So, yay or nay, you have a history of some sort of cinematography, editing, something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I do.
Tell
It's
us.
not really heavily in video. I've dabbled in video as a hobby, you know, with having kids and always shooting some video of the kids and editing some things together for the relatives and things like that. So always did that. But I have actually been in the commercial advertising business for over 30 years. So primarily with stills, not necessarily video, but I did do some CG animation, computer generated animations for automotive advertising. And well, that's why I was asking you earlier if you were familiar with the Detroit area. But the domestic American automotive advertising industry is it's big. I mean, well, automotive advertising, you know, there's car ads everywhere, right? There's TV commercials for cars, and it's probably the most expensive consumer product. I mean, you think about, well, houses are expensive, but that's not really a product that you buy. You know, like an item that you would buy, a car is probably the most expensive thing. And what's unique about cars is that there's a new one every year. You know, like you say, well, what's an expensive thing that you bought? Oh, maybe you bought a furnace for your house or a water heater or a new stove or a refrigerator, right? But you're probably only going to replace those when they get old and broken. Whereas a car, you know, it's like you got, you know, there's the 2017, 2018 cars, but then as soon as the 2019 cars come out, you know, it's like, yeah, you don't want that 2018 car. You want the 2019 car. You know, it's like, so they always change them up.
So how about, I'm sorry. So how about that translating into videos and stuff?
Well, imagery and advertising. I mean, you know, everything kind of rotates around advertising. It's all about, you know, advertising, and social media. It's all about, you know, there's sponsors out there and all that. So I've been dealing with advertising agencies and with media. You know, images for advertising, making images look appealing, and lighting and all of that stuff. So the reason I started talking about the car photography and that, because it's a pretty high-end product, and if you get into product photography and product imaging work, it's you know, the stuff's got to look good. It's got to be good. It's the pictures have to be better than the real thing. You know, like you can't just like go take a picture of a car out in your driveway. It's not the same as taking a picture of a car in a photo studio.
I'm curious, because I mean, I'm not just, like, for the folks out there that are, I'm not just saying that to say it. Like, when I say something, it's because that's, it's like your lighting is impeccable. All these things. So if you're going to work on the bench, and I'm just totally curious, because frankly, I think I'm going to snag some of your ideas.
Yeah, you can have it. In fact, I'm going to do some tutorials, I think.
Yes.
If there's interest out there, I want to help people out. I want to share. And this community is just amazing for sharing. So,
well, I'll be right there. I'll tell you what, I'll be watching. But so just for the sake of right now, you have an item on your bench, and I'm assuming, and then correct me, you'd have a light here on the side, maybe a light, I don't know, over there. You dim it, and then what's going on? How do you film that you working on?
It has a lot to do. Well, see, I told you I got this pretty deep history, right? So I started out with, I graduated from college in 1985, and I went to school for design and art and photography. So there's a background there. There's some actual, formal training in this is too. But as a kid, I was always drawing, and I did photography in high school. I was a photographer for the yearbook staff, and I did advertising. I did artwork. In fact, I even did for my yearbook in high school. I did the cover art, the lettering in that. So, I've kind of been doing it for a long time. So when it comes to like you asking about lighting and things like that, well, I've worked probably of the 30 years I was telling you about, there's probably 20 plus of those years I worked within a commercial photography and video studio. So I literally was watching the guys that were in there doing the lighting in the photography for commercial image work.
Right.
And so as far as that goes, it's almost like, it's like anything. It's, like they always use the term, like riding a bike, you get out there and you just know how to do it then. So when it comes to lighting things, you just,
well, you can't hit us with just that. You have to hit us with something.
Well,
don't do that to us, Bernie.
The worst photos there are the ones that you take with your flash on your camera, right? The flash is right on the camera, and it just blasts people in the face. Well, if you want to get shape, okay, here's a tutorial for you. If you want to get shape, it's you light from the sides. It's called cross lighting. That's what I have on my face right now. Is I've got cross lighting, so you add dimension to things by putting this light from the sides, not straight at your face.
Hold on, Bert. Let's let them know what happened to us before the show started. Before we continue with that, I was messaging Solo on Facebook message, and so I'm ready to set this up, and he comes on and he says, dude, my power went out. Let me go grab the generator. For me, a generator is, this I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? So
well, like I said,
you're on backup.
So yeah.
Right. You're on backup now, right? So that's and I just wanted them to know that's what was going down. I'm sorry. Go ahead with the lighting.
That's okay. We're good for a while, but at least for the hour, because I've got 15 gallons of gas out there. So
okay.
He's got the little bug from that wheel that he made running outside.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Yeah. So, but the lighting, you just want to light things so that you can get some shape and some dimension on there. So. Back when I first started, I was doing illustration work. I was an airbrush artist for almost 10 years, just doing airbrush art before computer art. So when I would do an illustration, I would have to photograph the product. I was a product illustrator. It wasn't, fine art or airbrushing on, a van or something, but it was literally doing illustrations for product and for advertising. So if I needed that, I needed to have some really good reference of whatever it is I was going to illustrate. So I would do quality photography to start with. So the better the photography reference, the better the illustration would turn out.
Wow, man, that's amazing. So obviously you've taken that and totally done it up in your videos. Even things like in every video you start the video, not all the time, but most of the time, and you walk in and you sit down, there's action occurring, and boom, and then you present to people. All those things, it's not just a haphazard thing. It's you introducing, that thrill of, hey, you're about to tell us something, and stay tuned to this, right? Is that true, or is that off?
Well, it is, but there's a lot of resources out there. You guys, everybody probably knows Casey Neistat. Casey, he's an awesome storyteller. And some of his editing is really, he could have a 15-minute video and I watch every minute of it. It's because he keeps you intrigued, and he comes skateboarding. I'm not going to skateboard into the scene, but that's what he does, right? He sets his camera up, he starts it rolling, and he goes back out of his studio, goes down the hall, comes back in, it's a lot of work, to set that stuff up like that, so,
yeah.
And I look at other people. I watch other people, and I listen to podcasts. I listen to people giving tips on video and how to tell stories. There's I can't think of his name now. He's a famous movie editor that was the editor on Apocalypse Now. Can't think of his name.
David Lynch? No,
he's the editor. A lot of people don't know the names of the editors. Like they'll know the names of like Francis Ford Coppola. He was the director on Apocalypse
that was a director.
Now.
Yeah.
But if you look up movie editors and you listen to some of the things that they say, there's Scorsese, like in the movie Taxi Driver. Do you know that movie? The old
Yeah.
Robert De Niro movie?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can look at documentaries, and I remember a story that Scorsese talked about when he was doing that movie. He actually had his assistants. They actually cut the floor out of the apartment above for that ending scene in that movie. They cut a slot in the floor all the way across the apartment building so that the camera could travel looking from above, and he for one shot. And he, you look at just, that's what I tell anybody, just look all that stuff up and just listen to these people talk.
You know what's disturbing about that movie?
Well, a lot of things.
Well, a lot of things, but for me, the fact that, like, we don't know anything about the guy's, like, in depth, the past. He just shows up. He's a disturbed guy, New York, and it's a great movie. Okay, we're gonna stop for a second, JP, if you would. Who's out there, and any questions?
There's quite a few people out there actually. There's Wolfcraft, Tracy Keating, Katie Dotson, Chad at Mancrafting, Mike Lindsay, Kavera, Mark Lindsay. Did I already say that one? I don't know. I can't remember. Matt Huss from Awesome Wood Things and Awesome Fun Things. Katie Dotson, Jordan Farr, Frank's DIY. Let's keep going up. Crosscut Creations, NJ Printing. Let's keep scrolling up a little bit. Steve Twidell. That's it for the time being. Let's get to the questions. Well, apart from Chad being a bit of a fanboy, I think.
Hi, Chad.
I'll ask a couple of these for the time being. He said, "Is Bernie going to Workbench Con?"
Yes, I am.
There we go. That's
going to be a good. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. That thing started out really tiny. It's the first one, and everybody's just jumping on board, so it's great. Yeah, it's going to be good. So now there's even a meetup on Thursday night, I guess now. So
yeah, Doc Hildebrand said, met Bernie and his brother at McAfee in New York. They have great hair, no question. Just a comment.
That was at Bear Burger, wasn't it, Doc? Yeah, that was a great place. It was a hard time paying our bill there. I remember they didn't want to take our money.
Another one from Chad. What's Bernie's degree in?
Oh, it's a Bachelor of Fine Arts, which is BFA, but it was in majoring in commercial illustration and photography.
Okay.
So, like I was saying, that's where there's a root there in this stuff.
Yeah. NJ Printing would like to know, what is your favorite thing you've made?
Let's see. After my two wonderful kids, I don't know. I guess I like some of the lighting that I've done. I started my company back in 1993 to design lighting actually. So that mid-century lamp that I just did is probably the latest of several lamps that I've designed and built in the past, and a lot of them were before YouTube or anything, so they're not documented. So I might try and figure out a way to make some video like I don't know,
was that the concrete one?
Well, there was the concrete lamp, that mid-century lamp.
Yeah,
that last one that I did. I've always liked mid-centuries. In fact, the first house that we had when we got married was a 1955 ranch, and we did the whole thing like it was 1955, with the furniture and all that stuff. So I've got a 1957 Wurlitzer jukebox still. I've got like an old cigarette machine. I've got some 1950s lamps and some furniture and stuff like that I still have, from back then. So I've always liked that era of design.
Nice.
Let me tell you something. That's another thing I had to ask you. Your music choices in your videos, Like it's totally right up my alley as far as it's got rock and roll in it, and like good time rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
And then there's blues and stuff. It's just right in the sweet area that I enjoy. And now you say this about the 50s and stuff. So you like the rock and roll, yeah?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And again, you know, when we talk about tutorials and like how things come about and all that, I probably in the early, when I first started my channel, there's a number of people that I looked at, but Paul Jackman, you know, his music choices, always loved his music choices. And I remember him saying that he spends a lot of time trying to figure out what that music is going to be. It's a big deal to him. So, you know, if I feel like I don't, you know, don't just pick something off quick, you know, get the feel of it. And I've also heard other people say that they listen to the music before they start editing. I've heard that as a tip, you know, to listen to it like you're going to make a music video. You know, you get the song first, and then you're going to put the, you know, music videos, right? The songs first, and then they make a music video to it. So, you know, kind of like that angle. So there's a lot of just little pieces of things. And, you know, just as a side note, like I said, I want to do some tutorials eventually on this stuff. But, okay, I went to art school. So, and it being a professional creative person, there's a creative process. A lot of, you know, fine artists might talk about their creative process, and, you know, they'll just go sit by the, you know, a lake or a stream for a while until something comes to them. Well, as a professional artist, I had to go to work, and like, it's due tomorrow. I can't go sit and wait to be inspired. You know, so as a professional, I was trained in commercial art to go to work, have a client with an idea, what they wanted to do, you know, work that all out, and then produce it on a deadline. It wasn't, you know, so it was still art, but it was how do I get myself fired up? What do I need to do? What do I got to do to get me going? You know, type of thing. So after doing that for so many years, when it comes down to like, oh, I need to do a video. Well, the only problem that I'm running into, one of the problems is that there's no client. I'm making my own deadline. And you know what happens when you make your own deadline? It's like, well, you know,
right.
You know, it could be due tomorrow. Well, it could be maybe due next, you know, whenever. But as far as coming up with a solution, though, that it's more of a, you know, get myself going, get in that groove and get it done type of a thing. So that's been a huge help for me.
I like how I know you have more, JP. I just wanted to, I like how you also start, you give an introduction to the whatever piece you tell a little story. Sometimes you inject little sections of story, and you keep it rolling and interesting with different elements in it. But go ahead, JP. I'm sorry.
Wolfcraft would like to know, what camera do you use? The quality is great.
Oh, well, for one thing, I do not use 4K. I like the cinematic look. I like the soft look of just the regular 1080, and I use a Nikon DSLR. I have a new D7200 that I just bought, and then I have a D7000 Nikon. So they're both Nikons, and I use I put more money into the glass, into the lenses, so that I can have these fast lenses, because I really like short depth of field. So that's the most important part, is the glass, and then the body, you know, afterwards on that. But no 4K. 4K is actually, back to the old guy thing. I'm not into like the latest greatest of things, and the 4K, it takes up a lot of storage space, and it's almost, I want to say, it's too sharp for me. I've experimented with it a little bit, and I really like the cinematic look. So I also shoot at either 30 or 40 shutter speed, which is pretty slow. So I get motion blur in there too. It's not too sharp. It softens it. It softens the motion too. So that's how I shoot. I guess hopefully that answers the question.
I've actually got a question now, and I really hope I don't make myself look like a complete idiot, or more of an idiot, and mix you up with somebody else. Was it you that was in something like very similar to like Robot Wars, where you created a robot that climbed walls and things like that.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the First Robotics Organization, which is the high school robotics team that my son's on.
Yeah.
So they don't. They're not robots that bash into each other. They will run into each other, but more like it's more like they're playing football or rugby or something like that, where that's not the object of the game is to damage the other person or the other player.
Yeah,
But
like you see on
sometimes
TV.
they'll bump into each other and things like that. But the game, they play games and they have to score. They have to either pick up an object and put it into a bin, or they have to shoot a ball up into a target or things like that. And the other team can, they can block. So yeah, that's been amazing. In fact, this is my 4th year doing it with my son. He's a senior in high school now, and I'm a mentor, which is an adult advisor to the team, and I've grown a lot as far as my self-confidence and what I can do in the maker ability type of thing. Because when you get into those robotics and you're on a team like that, there's resources for the robot parts and the motors and the gears and the mechanisms and all that stuff, to do that. So if you want to try something out, you want to make a mechanism or something to test it out, you can go into the shop where we have our team and grab some gears and some wheels and some motors and just stick them together and see what happens, and take some aluminum metal and go into the metal shop and cut it up, or the lathe or the mill or whatever, and work on it. And I had only experimented with some of those things up until I joined the team. But it was for the kids, but as an adult, I was in there advising and saying, well, what if we try this? And I can just go try it, because you're right there with the tools and the materials and things. So I've had a lot of personal growth because of that, as far as a maker.
Is that where is that the reason? Because I saw a video where you made a big wrench, or was it your son that made the wrench?
Well, there's a theme. Every season there's a theme, and last year's theme was steampunk. So it was all steampunk stuff, and so he wanted to look like an old, like an engineer from the Industrial Revolution age. So he got his overalls and he got that old hat and things like that. And that was a prop that he wanted to have a tool belt, but he wanted the tool belt. It wasn't like I just wanted just a normal tool belt. I want something that's going to stand out. So so we just made him a giant wrench, and he wore it on his back throughout the whole competition, which was every couple their weekends. So there was like 4 different weekends that he was out there doing that. So, but that was really fun. And that also was a father and son project too. So I've got some ideas, and my daughter is somewhat interested in maybe doing some projects with me too, and maybe even my wife somewhere along the line, and doing that. So that was really a blast, because my kids are like, they've got they do Instagram and stuff, but they're not really into doing a YouTube channel, but they enjoy it. So that's a way that they can, get involved and we can work together, because just, trying to combine family life and being on YouTube, I hear stories of how much time it takes for some of the channels that are bigger. The time commitment's just massive, so.
Yeah, you're also creating you're also creating a diary scrapbook of your creations. But what was the thought that went into you saying sort of, well, I'm gonna go ahead and start a YouTube channel, and like, where did that come from? Where did that thought come from?
Well, it's interesting. You call this the Mad Maker Show, so that's maybe one of those. I think it can kind of get a little weird here. I say weird, just maybe a little different. Is that's how things a lot of times have come to me? Is that I was actually recommended probably to 3 different people that came to me, and we were talking about, career changes, or a job wasn't working out, or somebody got laid off, or and what do I do now type of a thing. And my business was changing a lot, because it was all automotive based. And, the 2 out of the 3 of the big 3, Chrysler and General Motors, went bankrupt. So my business is based on automotive. And when that happened, and things got kind of shook up a bit. And so anyway, try to shorten the story here. So I had actually recommended to, I think, 3 different people that came to me, were talking about their careers being, up and down and things. And I said, why don't you start a YouTube channel? Maybe just dabble in it. You got all these skills, go give it a shot. And so when my business started getting a little rocky, I thought, I was talking to myself the whole time. That's what I was saying about the whole, the idea of being a little bit different, is that I realized as I was giving other people advice that I was actually talking to myself, giving myself advice on this is what I should do next.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So that does it ever happen to you guys?
Thank goodness your thought wasn't, I think I'm just going to jump over a bridge today, and you were giving that advice, because that would have been tragic.
Well, sure. Yeah. I've told several people to go kill themselves. Yeah.
At that point, you'd say, no, that's not going to work for me. I'm glad they tried it, but I'll skip that one.
Yeah. All my friends are gone. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So you started off, but how did you connect? Because you were in the Facebook group, and I remember, and it's stuck with me, dude, talking about advertising and marketing and all that. Very effective. I'll tell you, I remembered that first video that I came across of yours where you're doing your introduction to your channel, because you mentioned very effective, dude. The branding stayed in my mind. What you said, the gist of it, right? I don't remember the words, but the gist of it, you mentioned stories and this and that. It was effective on me. I watched it. I was like,
oh, that's great.
Hot dog. And I pressed the subscribe and awesome, dude. And I was like, so it was very effective. And that was a while back already. I don't know. There's just a question in there. Oh, how'd you end up in the secret group?
Wes Swain.
Ah, how do you know Wes?
I didn't know what. Well, since then, Wes has made me pancakes.
Nice.
At Bill's house in California. Yeah. So once you have pancakes like that, it's
Wait a
friendship block there. But
you also met Lutz.
Oh yeah, yeah. What was at Bill's house? Yeah.
You have been.
The famous spooning incident.
Whoa! Listen,
I've heard about it.
Oh, yeah. No, that was public. That was public, but part of it was anyway.
Go ahead.
So, so that's where I got to hang out with Izzy and Bill and
hey, dude,
a bunch of people. I think Jesse took that picture actually of those two guys.
No, but dude, are you trying to entice? Is there a secret video out there that you're gonna? You can't just leave us with the spooning incident and then not let people know what the heck is going on.
Well, you know what it is, right? Didn't you see the pictures,
dude? Okay,
you didn't see Bill and Izzy and the whole
spooning.
Yeah, you got to look it up.
Okay, maybe.
JP, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe my mind just blocks it out.
JP knows it. Well, maybe it did. You know what I did, because I said it's going to take me all day to unsee that.
You see, so.
Eloy, you need to attend more events.
Yeah, well, as long as there's plenty of spooning going on, I mean, why not, right?
Exactly.
My goodness.
Exactly.
Don't turn your back on Bill Lutz.
Did you hear that, Lutz?
You're gonna get hung either way.
Well, you don't want to anyway. You don't want to anyway, because he gives hugs when you're face to face. He's a lovable. Yes, he is.
And you definitely want a hug from Luke.
Actually, Izzy hugs too.
So back, it was your first video. I remember when Michael was helping out, because this is everybody here knows the story, but just for those that don't, Jacko, whatever, over in Italy, I think it's Italy.
I think so.
He has this huge warehouse type shop. For you guys haven't seen it, but you probably have. And he's got like all his tools and knickknacks and bins that reach the top of the ware, and he's got a forklift, and he forks out the and then brings the bins down and grabs. He's like a scientist, kind of crazy guy, and he did this USB in concrete, and the trolls went hog wild, left and right out of the woodwork. Right. It was insane. And so Michael Lowing, he started like a challenge. Very cool dude. And he's in the group, the secret group. And so it was do your own USB, but man, they ripped him a new one. And so Bernie did one that's really bad to the bone. It's wood. And can you just tell us that whole bit?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was I was planning to start my YouTube channel. And when that came out, I said, I can do this. I can do something, you know. And so that was a great, you know, kick in the pants for me to get going on that stuff. And I don't know did I win like I think I won the Quikrete prize. I think because Quikrete jumped in and we're going to give a gift certificate. So I think I got some money to go buy more concrete or something on that one. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And Michael, I mean, I say Michael, I thanked him many times, and I will continue to for putting that out there. And not just me, a ton of people jumped in on that. There were some really, really neat things in there. And that, I think it was more than that, the actual video or the project or any of that stuff. What it was my introduction to this community that was just amazing. It felt like, and you guys know what I'm talking about. You know that there are people that you feel like they're friends of yours that you just have never met. Like they're, you know, and so what happened to me was within that first week, I think it was, I get this private message from Wes Swain. And he said, we're inviting you into the group. And I went, is there a secret handshake or what? Anyway. And so that's when I came in, and it was like I said, I felt like there was just these friends that I had never met. Like it was almost like a bunch of, you know, people I had known for years, and I just got back together, like a high school reunion or something, you know. And it was just amazing. So anyway, I guess for me, that was the biggest thing, because I had been a maker, and Detroit's had a maker fair. For, you know, Make Magazine sponsors the maker fairs, and I think we're going on our 8th year in Detroit, and we've been to, my kids and I've been to every one of the maker fairs. And so the maker community, that's what I knew the maker community as, and I knew that there were some YouTube channels out there doing some things, but I didn't know that there was that it was as close knit as it was. So
you have oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just going to say that's just for me, that was the big thing about it, was there was this group of makers that I just felt like there was this tribe, you know. There was like, oh my gosh, there they are. And not only on top of that, I was being invited in. Like I said, that's how I met Wes. You know, he saw my video, and he's like, oh my gosh, you got to come in, you know, we want you in the clubhouse.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you,
you know, that was just really cool.
The mixture of the way you edit your videos, to the lighting, the projects themselves, and the music, and it's like you do all these things, you know, very, very well. All of them very well and put together very well. So it just draws attention. Oh, like, yeah, totally, dude.
I you know, the thing is that stuff takes a long time.
Yeah,
it takes me a long time to do that. So the whole weekly, you know, project is, you know, I really want to. So what I'm doing, I don't know if you saw it or not. There was the well, I did some short Instagram ones, and what I think I'm going to do is do some little quicker videos. And I actually made a new intro called Shortworks. And I'm going to do these little shorts, and I think to get them out there, get more content out there in between the longer videos. Because I really enjoy doing the longer videos, but they take a long time to produce. I got so much footage I shoot. And it's more than, well, like you said, it's more than the project. It's more than me building something. It's an actual video production. It's like it's a music video version of a project.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good way to put it. And so there's just more into it. And I don't have anybody helping me. Other than, like I said, my kids jumping in once in a while. So I'm doing it all myself. And I continue to do it because it's fun. I enjoy doing it. So it's a good time. And I think because I am converting it into what I'd like to do as more of, I'd consider it my business. So, I understand, like, there's people out there that, like the podcast, with Bob and, Jimmy and, David, listening
Yeah.
to some of the advice on their channels. And Bob, I've met Bob a couple of times, and he always tells people to work on the value of their channel, because that's where, sponsors and subscribers and followers and watch time and all that stuff's it makes good content, I guess. That's what it's all about. So I'm working on that value, and I'm not worried about getting a video out every week or on a specific schedule like that. I just want that value to be there. So, by you guys having me on the show, and Eli, like what you just said about how when you saw my work, it really means a lot to me, because that means that, well, you know how it is when you're by yourself and you're making your video and you're talking to your camera, there's nobody around. It's like, oh, I hope this is interesting for somebody. So, to hear that it actually is just huge for me. Really, it's huge. So thank you guys very much for
dude.
that.
For sure. Very impressive and inspiring too. That's another thing. We all affect each other, to lesser and greater degrees. But when you put something out into the world, and I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, because all these things working in the industry that you have. So but you put something out, and it creates ripples, sometimes more than others, but everything affects everything else, I feel. And I love it when I watch a video and I see certain attention taken to, be it lighting or I mean, I don't do all the things in every video, but I always try to give, value in my work, whether it's a story, or the music is all original. I write it and put it into the video, and all these things. But I see in yours that you add all of these elements, and just very enjoyable. Which, with that said, you have a CNC, apart from other machines and tools at your disposal. I love that you'll take, like, for the concrete and all that, and you'll take, like, a styrofoam and sort of shape it and all that. I've seen this a lot in your videos, or a few times. What CNC? Because there's a lot of cats out there that own CNCs here in the chat. Mark Lindsay's there. I think Javi might be there. Chad and Patrick's might be there, and others. So I've never seen them try that. Give us a little bit just to see,
Okay, well, yeah, I've actually had this. This is my second CNC. I built the first one out of plywood. It's completely homemade out of scraps. I mean, it was literally, upcycled CNC. I bought the motors and built the controller and all that stuff from scratch so I could understand it. But it only cut 13 inches by 13 inches, so it was only a little bit bigger than like a 3D printer would be. So I got my feet wet with that one, and I played around with it for, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or so. And I realized that I liked it a lot. So I started shopping around to see what I could find out there. And I found CNC router parts. They're from out west, and they have kits. And so because I already built the CNC from scratch out of plywood, literally cutting and designing the whole thing myself anyway, putting together their kit was super easy. In fact, if you've looked at Bob Claggett, he just got one. Mine's a 4 foot by 4 foot cutting area, and his is I think a little bit larger than that because it's a newer model. But I've had mine about 5 years now, so it's a little bit. The components are slightly different than what he's got set up, what he's setting up right now. So, but CNC router parts. That's the name of the company, and it's a kit. And because it's a kit, you can customize it any way any way you want. And I met those guys at the Bay Area Maker Fair face to face, but I've talked to probably 3 or 4 of them on the phone throughout the years of having the machine. And it's just a group of makers that they came together to put these kits together for people like us to do it. So, you know, if you have any issues with that, I can't recommend them anymore. They're not a sponsor of mine, but they're just, I've recommended them countless times because, you know, you get something like this put together in your garage, and if there's an issue, you literally can call them on the phone and you get like the guy that will tell you what you need to do to fix it. So, you know, because they're a small enough company to be very personable, but they're big enough to give you that kind of support. So yeah, it's really cool. And I just run a regular router on it too. It's a Bosch router. So I have a little bit of trouble cutting metal because I can only go down to 8,000 RPMs right now. So I'd like to eventually get a spindle for it that I could control. You know, go a little slower to cut metal.
Do you own a? Go ahead, JP. Were you gonna say something?
No.
Do you? Okay. Do you own a laser?
I sort of own a laser. I have right over about 10 feet from me in my studio here, I have a box of parts that I was going to build my own laser. And I've got about 3/4 of the parts, and I just need to get it together for a project and finish that. So, but I've got two 3D printers. My son and I built our first 3D printer in 2010. It's an old MakerBot. It's all a wooden MakerBot kit. So the thing's really rickety. And then we have a newer MakerBot too. So we have 2 3D printers. So the kids are, you know, my kids are, you know, making 3D stuff for school all the time, you know, for school projects, and then, you know, getting in trouble also with making things. So there's that. And then I just put on Instagram the other day, just on Sunday, we went and picked up an old antique lathe, a metal lathe. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, I have a wood lathe that my brother, thanks again, Carl, my brother, he got hooked us up with a wood lathe, but I have to get it put back together and kind of tune it up. But I see everybody turning all these fantastic things, both of you guys. And well, wait a minute though, Eloy, do you have a lathe? I know JP does.
No. JP, I've been wanting one for a while, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to get into doing some wood projects, and the metal lathe, though, my son's actually done some project on the metal lathe, and he hasn't documented them. So he's got some really neat things that he's done. So maybe we'll work on a project soon for that. And well, just today on Instagram, I saw, you know, David Welder, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know his dad, Paul.
Yeah.
He did a thing. If you guys could check it out on Instagram, he took a piece of copper on his lathe and he made a bell, like it almost looks like the end of a trombone, with the lathe by spinning it and pushing the copper with a wooden stick. I think what he was doing, because you know he's a builder, I think it's a flange for like a roofing vent or something. I think he needed to do, because he does copper roofing.
I saw that video.
I remember him doing some copper for, they made like a giant
overhang.
Was it like they did a big onion thing or a garlic thing?
Yeah, you're like a building, right? for building. And I also, yeah. Okay, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while since I did that. Yeah.
Yeah, but he just put that up there today, which reminded me too that that the lathe I got is an antique lathe. It's made by South Bend from South Bend, Indiana, which is the same. I guess Jimmy's got a South Bend lathe, and he always talked about it, South Bend lathe. I never saw the full thing, and then a friend of mine had this one for sale. He was getting rid of it, and he said, you know, I just need this out of my garage, and you know, give me whatever, make me an offer and come and get it. So we got this antique lathe. I think it's from like late 1930s. And so I still need to fix it up a little bit, and but hopefully I'll be doing something with that. So, and I'm not a machinist. I don't have a lot of background in it, but my son's been learning machine work. He's pretty good with the lathe and the Bridgeport mill. So having some metalworking tools in the shop now is really gonna. It's just, you know, it's endless what you can do. You know, you get some of these things, and this lathe is just this little lathe. It's a little tiny lathe. It's 3 feet long. You know, so it's a kind of a mini lathe.
Yeah, your shop looks like, when in your videos, your shop looks like a playground for fun and building, you know.
Well, thanks. It's actually the corner of my garage. It's not even a shop. It's
Dude.
my garage. So I have to move my tools to pull my wife's car in because it's snowing. So
Dude,
she needs a car defrosted.
that's amazing that you'd say that, because that just goes to show how flippin' awesome, you know, with the filming of it. Because to me, you see, like, you'll be sitting in front of the bench, and then in the back you'll see all these cool things like colors. I don't know if they're swatches, color swatches, and
Right.
like it's all, dude, it's all thought out. Yes, come on,
It's all
yay
fake.
or nay? But
It's
you
all
think
fake. It's green screen. No, it's not green screen.
no? Don't say, dude. Do not ruin it for me that way.
No, it's just the corner of my garage where I have my computer, my workbench, and my drill press and stuff up in the corner. It's like a 2.5 car garage, and the half car is like a little shop area. So
I can't believe it. That's the most shocking.
It's kind of like the backdrop behind him today. It's because it's a Mad Maker show. He's made himself look like he's in a padded cell.
Oh, I'm not sponsored by Harbor Freight, but that's a Harbor Freight moving blanket behind me. Isn't that a cool pattern? I like that.
Yeah.
That zigzag.
Yeah.
I got the zigzag thing going on back here.
It looks like you're in a padded
crazy
crazy room.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, there you go. The Mad Maker padded room.
Yeah, there you go.
They're gonna let me out.
They were talking
tomorrow.
about that in the chat room earlier on.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
quite surprisingly, it was Steve Twidell that said it looked like the inside of one of them. Now, I don't know how he knows what the inside of one of them looks like.
It looks like one of those cells I spent time in a while ago.
Yeah.
You see, I can't move my arms because I'm bound up here a little bit.
So,
Yeah.
so JP, if there's any questions, feel free to interject. Okay.
Not right at the moment,
Okay.
but there's still a lot of chat going on out there.
Yeah. So, Bernie, where do you want to like take this YouTube thing? I mean, you do see it as documentation of your creations, or you have set out a purpose, an exact purpose for doing what you do? Because I mean, earlier you said that it just comes natural. This is what I've been doing for X amount of years and stuff. But do you have a place where you want to take the channel or your projects, or just in general with this YouTube?
Yeah, I do. I want to at least for now. Now the focus is on design. I really do like to I'd like to design my own projects and then build them. So not necessarily anything for production. Usually once it's built, well, yeah, I suppose a lot of artists are that way. Once you're done with that project, you want to move on to the next one, but that there's some people in our community that they kind of land on something. Well, like Jimmy with his ice picks, people said, "Oh, can you make more ice picks? We'd like to buy them." So he goes into production on those things, but I probably wouldn't. Not really planning on going into that. I've dabbled in that a little bit in the past. So, maybe make a few copies of some things. But more like about the design, more about the creative process, which you said you heard me talk about in my intro video, the creative process. I really would like to, as a parent, looking at what's going on with the kids in public school, at least, and what's looking forward to these my kids, and also a lot, any kids, what they're going to what they're exposed to, and what their abilities are, and to get out there and there will, at least with my kids, there's a big push right now for the kids to be really good at math and science and technology and that stuff. And the thing that I want to be sure that to remind everybody is that those are all obviously really good skills to have. I mean, without those, we wouldn't be building anything. But before we do any of that, we need to have a good idea. We need a design. We need an idea. Because if you have a bunch of scientists and mathematicians in a room, if they don't have anything to build, what are they going to do all day? They need an idea, so they need the creativity there. So to nurture that, and the way I see things is that most little kids, if you think about it, they draw and they paint and they scribble and they do things when they're little kids, almost every one of them. But as kids, as we grow up and we get older, a lot of kids, they'll say, oh, I'm not good at that, or I'm not good, I can't draw. But you look at a 2 or 3 year old or 4-year-old, they're not going to tell you they can't draw. They're going to say, give me the crayons, let me go do it.
Right. And possibilities are endless when you're innocent.
Yeah. So as we get older and somebody tells us, well, like with music, because you're a musician, I'm not a musician, but with the music, people maybe that you knew when you were younger that were musicians. And then they all of a sudden somebody said, well, you're no good, or you're, whatever. And they took it to heart. And then they're like, well, I guess I'm not good at that, type of thing. Yeah. And so the way I say it is that anybody that I talk to that I'm, tutoring or mentoring, or anybody looking for advice, is that it's not like I want to learn to draw, learn to paint, learn to do video, learn to, do these things. I say, just remember how you used to be when you were a kid, when you used to draw and paint and do all those things. Just remember, don't think I need to learn that or gain that skill, because you were that way when you were younger. I would say that to pretty much almost anybody that I've ever met was an artist when they were, really tiny, so just remember what you used to do when you were having fun with crayons and nobody was over your shoulder looking at what you're doing. Just go for it. Right. I mean, that's the advice that's maker's advice right there. Anyway, just go do it. Start the project. Don't think about it too much. Be a 3-year-old, be a 4-year-old.
That's a beautiful, beautiful thing to say. Yeah. That's a valuable bit of advice and reminder, because we get one shot, as far as I know, in this world, and we forget things along the way. Be as a young kid and free to have possibilities open to you and go do it. Why not? Why not? Right? Yeah.
Do you remember, did you ever draw bikes or cars or anything when you were young?
Oh yeah, everything.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And here's a question for you guys then. Did you make motor sounds when you were drawing the cars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's peeling out, or it's doing something, just, you're drawing it, but you're making the sound and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just gotta get back to doing that, make that sound and all that. And so that's another tie into the music. And you're a musician, so when you're thinking that music and that feel of that music and how it feels and how fast it is, or the ups and downs and the gaps in between. Like, I love music. I'm not a musician, but I love music. And I look at music like I would look at a piece of artwork, where you look at contrast, lights and darks, and music that has openings. There's the music, but then there's the space that the music is in, that silence that's between the notes.
Yeah.
It's so important. It has to be there, or it can't be music, right? So in art's the same way. It's all interconnected. So somebody who's a musician with sound, they can convert that into visuals, or somebody that's visual could, have a huge appreciation for music and why music is that way, or why music makes you feel that way. It's like taking something apart. You get whatever it is. It's a toaster, it's a blender, it's a mixer, a vacuum cleaner, or something like that. You take it apart, right? Take it apart and see how it works. Well, you can do that with a picture. You can do that with a video. You look at somebody's video, you really like it. You take it apart, like you're taking apart, your lawnmower or something. Take it apart. Feel like, why does it work that way? In music, right? Haven't you done that with music that you really liked and you want to emulate it, or you want to cover it? You take it apart, right?
Yes, that's the way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
you take it apart, and then you learn from that, and you try to put it back together, and then you come up with something totally different, because you can never truly replicate. I mean, you could say that you could, but you can never. It becomes a thing of your own. You've learned something, and you've gained, but it's never the same bit that came in to you from the outside.
Right. So just taking things apart. I mean, that's a curiosity, right? Wouldn't you say that that's probably a main trait of most makers, is the curiosity?
Yes. Yeah.
How things work and all that.
Absolutely.
So, like, JP, when you started working on the lathe, I mean, what intrigued you about that when you first saw somebody working on a lathe and you wanted to try it?
I want to have a go on it, and ain't no one going to stop me.
Right.
It was as simply as that. I'm going to have a go, and if I fail, then I want to get back up, and I want to try it again.
Yeah.
And I want to try again, and I want to try again. It's as simple as that.
So when you hear like,
is that the same with a scroll saw? Is that with a scroll saw? I just took to it like a duck to water. The lathe is taking a little bit longer, but yeah, it's exactly the same process. If I fail, I just get another bit of wood and try again.
Yeah, well, you two guys you're not parents, are you?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay, so like with the kids and being around kids and being around my kids and my kids' friends and that, and working with the schools and things like that, when you hear that any kid, or even adults, they say, "Well, I don't think I can do that." Well, like with the lathe, if you said, "I don't think I can do that," where would that ever go? You're done. Right. Yeah. I mean, you can't, where's that going to go? So the only thing you can do is turn it around and just say, I can do that. I might not be able to do it today or tomorrow, but maybe next week, if I keep at it, I'm going to be able to do it. So that's just,
that's one attitude.
It's almost like a light switch, you know, if you switch it, if it's switched off, it's not going to happen. If it's switched on, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. There was one question from Wolfcraft. It says, "But I am that 2-year-old that needs the next crayon, or I simply can't color, even though I have 120 out of 128 color box."
So what's the question?
Let me just go back up to it.
It's more like a comment, no?
Yeah, he says, "But I am the 2-year-old who needs that next crayon, or I simply can't color, even though I have 120 out of 128 color box."
Vector, just do it, right? Just start doing it. Make
Wolf is crazy.
Don't think too much.
Wolf is a loony out there too. Yeah, right, Wolf? You're a mad maker as well. We're all mad. Listen to that comment that Wolf just did. Put him in a straitjacket, please.
Well, you know,
we do have a question. It's from Chip Builds. It says, "What's your favorite tool?"
Favorite tool? Probably the CNC router. I'm still just not. I'm just cracking into what the possibilities are with that. I really want to do more 3D work with the router. So that would be that would be it. And right now, I just told you we just bought that old lathe. It's still not ready to go yet. I still have some work to do on it, but I'm really intrigued to do something with that. Well, both lathes, the wood lathe and the metal lathe.
So let me mention, did you enjoy the visit with us?
Oh yeah, we could just keep on talking. I even asked you guys many questions. I want to know more about you. All these band logos that you're doing, those are all my favorite bands.
Oh, you like the hair metal era?
Yeah. Well, come on, man. I was in high school in the late 70s, you know, and in the 80s. Oh, yes.
Well, heck, tell us, did you have long hair and walk around with tore up rock and roll shirts?
Yeah. I bought jerseys for every concert I went to. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Always.
Nice. So, you know, I was young and I grew up in the 80s, well into the 90s, and so I grew up listening to the albums that the older brothers around the neighborhood would hand over, or that we'd sneak off and listen to.
Yeah.
And they'd walk around and they'd have long hair, dude, and earrings and their shirts. They'd take their shirts and they'd actually cut into them and make them so that they'd hang like skeleton, like tore up, like little rings coming down. And like we were younger and they had girlfriends and they dressed with leather and they were hot and pumps and walking down the street. And I'd be where
is this at? This is in Florida?
this is here in Miami, here in Sweetwater, and I'd sit and watch, and all of us little kids, and we'd look. They'd walk down the street, and it was just coolness, man. Meanwhile, we're there picking our noses and stuff, you know. And so we grab these Ozzy Osbourne albums.
Who was from the UK, by the way?
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
Everything, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden. Although I don't want to, but the Iron Maiden, I didn't get it. I love the posters and stuff. There were some band. Remember back then, or us as, I mean, we didn't have access to like everything we wanted to, so we just grabbed with what we could. So like, I'd listen to Rat, that band from the '80s, like back to back. Like,
what about Deep Purple?
Deep Purple, I listened to later, going back as a musician.
JP's like,
on the water.
Oh well, I went back and listened to, like, I'm fairly versed, being, you know, that I play guitar and in 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and it drops off in the 90s, frankly. In the 2000s, I could honestly not care much about as far as music, not because I'm dismissing it, just that when you're learning and you focus on, you know. But in any event, what were your bands?
Probably one of the biggest ones was the Jay Giles band. Do you remember Jay Giles?
Yep.
Yeah. So that, and there was, like I said, high school was in the late 70s for me. So Led Zeppelin was big. The Who. I guess they're all UK bands, JP. He's shaking his head. He's like, yeah, this is right. The Clash. How about the Clash?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there was the homeboys here was from the Detroit area was Ted Nugent and Bob Seger. And one fellow that's actually from out west is Alice Cooper, but he kind of made Detroit his home a little bit. So that's kind of like, is those before your days? Yeah,
but we'd get all the records. You have to understand. So it's fun for me. I never listened to, like, if it were my day, it would be like it would be like the Bon Jovi, Metallica, Megadeth, Exodus, Testament, you know, all these bands. Who else? Geez, Poison, Cinderella, you know, all these bands and stuff. But so the older brothers would get Religion or Move Out or whatever the heck, and then what would end up happening is that in one case they would hand me the albums, like crates of albums, and say, here, man, my brother don't want these no more, and I'm like, and I'd be, and like, you know, Twisted Sister, the record, you know, you play it, and there are these ugly guys there looking at you, but they're rocking, and so really good stuff, man.
What's that? The lead on that was Dee Snider, right?
Dee Snider,
yeah. Crazy.
I was born in the early 80s, and I was quite literally force-fed the likes of Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Supertramp, ELO, Iron Butterfly.
Oh yes.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
That's
Mike Oldfield.
Good stuff.
Rainbow. All them sorts of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right. It's good. Well, I know these the kids. Like I said, I know a lot of the kids that are in high school right now, and they actually listen to a lot of that music, and they say they listen to it because it's good music.
There's actually a point on Dark Side of the Moon that if you start it when the lion roars, the music actually matches.
Oh, really? I should try that.
Oh, yeah. So what they do is, they'll take the record and start with what was it? What was the movie with Dorothy? Wizard? Yeah, they play it, you know, side to side, volume off on the movie, and it matches. Now, And it does. But the thing is, anything matches, in my point of view. But all these people, you know, that are like trippy stoners and this and that, they're like, they found the holy grail of rock and roll. But everything matches. You know, anything matches. You put it side, you know, juxtaposed, and it may not make sense to many, but it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, there's a rhythm to it. You know, I mean, anybody, like, you take a movie that's edited, that's got to be edited to a there's a tempo for the visuals. You know, the visuals have a tempo. It might not be an audible tempo, but there is a action going on, right? When people look around a room, or you look from one side to the other, or somebody walks one way and walks out of a scene and walks into another scene, there's a tempo to it.
There's a total tempo to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, so why not? I mean, it's action. Like I said, that's what I've been doing. I love music. I've just attempted music several times in my life, and it just doesn't quite happen for me. Maybe someday it will. But you either, Jamie? No?
Well, yeah, one of the things that I want to try and do eventually is I've always wanted to be able to do the guitar, and I've never been able to play it. But I kind of feel like if I was able to make my own guitar, it will give me more of a kick up the backside to learn it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Did you see Tim's new guitar that he just
I have
made?
seen it.
The one that changes. And he made it on a CNC also. Yeah. That CNC that CNC company is the same one that I have. Yeah. That was really cool. It looked beautiful.
Yeah, it's such a great idea, and I love the fact that you can switch it out. I mean, I can totally see that on the market. I don't think I've ever seen that ever before. I've seen each individual guitar, but I've never seen it that you can slide it out. And, you know, so if you guys haven't, I'm sure that all the folks, all the makers have seen that, because it's such a striking. But Tim Sway, really great project, you know. I wish I would have thought of that.
I love that he's really pushing it with the CNC too. He really is sticking to it. I know the couple of projects he had some trouble with it, but he stuck with it. Like, I can figure this out, you know. And so he did it. So he cut that guitar on there. And you know what that made me do? It made me go and look and watch Devo. I pulled up some Devo songs and listened to them after I saw that.
By the way, we've been touching on music and sort of pop things right now. I do want to mention to everyone out there, next week we're gonna have a dude that, if you haven't sat and talked to him, just great guy, lives out west in Oregon, or I don't know where. It's just somewhere where it rains, and it's far out west, someplace like that. And it's
it rains.
Maybe he does live in England.
Is it foggy?
And I think it's foggy over there in Oregon. So it's probably England, dude. And I'm talking about Mark Lindsay, CNC. He makes cigar box, hobo guitars. He works with CNC and many other things. And he has an extensive obsession, knowledge of music, and the many times that we've talked, he's got a lot of stories to tell, a lot of connections with music. So we'll be touching on that.
I'm gonna have the flu next week.
You know, it's funny. I'll say this. Let me say this one thing.
Just kidding, Mark.
Well, but he says that, but sometimes there's a little truth within the jest. It's funny because every time that we'll come into a hangout, and Mark and I are there, we'll be talking maker stuff, right? But the problem is that making it encompasses not just like a piece of wood or concrete, or soldering cables together. It encompasses painting, drawing. It encompasses it's so many things. And music, I mean, you got to sit and make it. This isn't a game. This is serious stuff. I've been making, if you take in music into consideration, forever, right? But so you start to see when we get a little too obsessed in the conversation, and it's nothing aggressive, abrasive. It's just that we're talking a little bit of music. Well, you start to see the facial changes and twitches of the makers in that hangout. Like, can we get back to woodworking? Can we have some solid material? Can we please just focus? And the thing is, you know, making encompasses all of that. So I'm one.
Yeah.
I'm open to many, but that's a story, and they know who I'm talking about. If they were there watching, they know.
Okay.
So that's like a
you
little.
know what you brought up earlier, though, Eloy, was that you appreciated my music choices for my videos. Now, I don't play that music. I don't make it myself like you do, but I spend a lot of time on the music, thinking about the music and listening to it ahead of time and editing to it. You know, I've played around with a few things. I don't have that, you know, my channel's not that full right now, and I've experimented with a lot of things. And the one thing that I think it rings true with me is the music. I think I'm always going to have music. I mean, some makers they make videos without music and they work fine. For me, music is going to be a big part of it. So it's always going to be there. So I'd love to talk about music. So I'll come and talk about music with you too. Okay.
Well, that's awesome.
We'll gradually outnumber the woodworkers then.
Well, so you you know, see, so here's the thing. See, I don't want it to be a clash of civilization, but yeah, totally right. It's okay, you know. Look, be it. I mean, you have to be in the mood, right? I was gonna say poetry, but I was about to gag when I said it. So, but even poetry and whatnot, I guess you have to be in the mood for it too. So I don't want to completely attack the people that I'm thinking about, which they know who they are because they're over there.
Sorry, Eloy, I just need to get this in a minute. Bernie, you've actually been challenged on the CNC.
Oh no, that's why I shouldn't have said anything.
Steve Twidell was challenged you to make a 3D banana on the CNC because he's managed to turn one on a lathe. He turned a banana on purpose, or was it an accident?
Yeah, on this show, somebody challenged him, and see, the Mad Maker show has a first for. I don't know, Bernie, have you been on the not on the show, on a show before like this on the internet?
There's nothing like your show.
Well, thank you.
He's normal.
there's nothing like this. Yeah,
well,
this is it. This is it. This is live. I'm so glad you decided not to go live with this. That you're pre-recording this, right? So we can edit this.
Well, Twidell did and by the way, congratulations to Twidell. He hit 20 grand on YouTube with subscribers, and he's doing a massive giveaway.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So this is a banana. Does it have to be life size?
He's one was, yeah.
Does it have to be life size?
Well, yeah, I think so, dude.
Okay, what about, does it have to be realistic? Does it have to be painted and finished? Like it's it would be a real banana?
Even burnt it a little bit, so it looked bruised.
Oh, really? Oh, the little dots on it? The ripe banana?
Okay. Dude, in one sitting,
he done it like a 5-axis turning, so the stalk bit was kind of like even off a little bit extra.
Oh.
He's actually got video out on it.
There's a video? Okay. I want to look at that.
He done it the first time live on Eloy's show, and then he put a video out on it.
Oh.
So here's
as far as we know as well.
So are you going to do that?
Videos out there.
Are you guys going to do that for some of these maker interviews? Does it actually have people making on your show?
Well, okay. So here's the thing.
Planned.
It wasn't planned. A few things happened that night. I think that my internet dropped, and then when I came back on, and then it extended. No.
Yeah.
Okay,
Jamie
you know what's
over.
No, yeah, but you know what's funny is that Twidell, and it's funny that he pops up. Twidell, kind of like you, and it's not been many guests. And by the way, we discourage this, ladies and gentlemen. But Twidell, like you, began to ask questions and allow for the conversation to go to back and forth, which is an indication to me of curiosity and feeling comfortable and relaxed. And so you and Twidell did that, and Twidell quickly moved on to actually he basically he started making things, and the show became like a making show. And the thing is, since it's the Mad Maker, he totally. And the thing is, since it's the Mad Maker show, as a rule of thumb, yes, there's some sort of structure, but as a rule of thumb, we're kind of taking a walk with that person that we're interviewing, and if craziness ensues, right?
Well, if you wanna start doing that thing, I would love to come back and broadcast from my garage.
Yeah, dude, for sure. So you'll come back then for sure.
If I figure out how to make a banana, then maybe we'll do a live banana carving.
Sounds good, dude. Can you hit us with any, if you'd like to, any shout outs where folks can find you, final thoughts? I do have all your links down below in the description, and I do want to say that it's been such a pleasure to get to know you. I'm very inspired, just exciting stuff. So thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Like I said before, this just us all being together in this community is just, I don't know. It's just amazing. It's almost like a very kind of a weird family, right? So like, and the support's pretty amazing. I just put a question out the other day about I was having some trouble with my blades in my planer, and I couldn't even keep up with the comments. There were so many people wanting to help me with what was going on with it, and so you have to be careful. You ask a question, and there's so many people that want to help, and I always want to say thanks to everybody for doing that. So yeah, the community is it's just amazing, and the embracing and the support is just great. And both you guys, I think this is a great idea, because every one of us, it's like there's this tribe, but then we're also individual at the same time. You know what I mean? There's this diverse group of people. They're so different, but they've got this common thread. It is just, it's fascinating to me, because we're all the same, but we're all different at the same time. It's like a paradox of this. So it's just intriguing, and like I said, I would love to just interview you guys and ask you more about things, how you started and things like that. But obviously we can't talk forever on this stuff, but you had asked me about a shout out or socials, and I, because again, background in marketing and advertising, I made sure that my brand was available for all the socials that I was interested in. So Works by Solo, pretty much, if you look for that on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, it's all the same. I was able to have the same username across the board. So yeah, so anybody looking for that stuff is great, and feel free to contact me. Direct message if you guys, anybody else has any other questions or anything like that, or suggestions or comments.
Thank you for that.
I love the community. Yeah, the community. It's all about the community. So as far as talking or comments or questions or anything, it's great. I love the interaction.
Well, I'd like to thank Wolfcraft for the donation, dude. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All of you guys out there, thank you very much. I'm going to pass it over to JP. Remember, next week we have Mark Lindsay, CNC, and we will be touching upon a broad spectrum of things. But I think that you'll, if you're anything like the cats that I'm thinking of, I think that you'll be disgruntled to hear about music. But we want to go a little bit into the past and touch upon a lot of things. So I think it's going to be very exciting. And let me pass it over to JP.
I don't think I've got anything else to plug at the moment. So apart from my usual social medias, which is my YouTube channel is JP Woodwork, my Twitter and Instagram is JP_Woodwork, my website is JP_Woodwork. I'm 1/5 of Makers International Podcast, which can be found at makersinternationalpodcast.com. Both websites are sponsored by Harnealmedia, which is Steve Nealon, which can be found at Harnealmedia.com. That's basically it, I think. So yeah, that's about it.
As always, thank you, JP, our guest, Bernie Solo, Works by Solo. You guys out there, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're all mad, and you know it, you know. So I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I'm gonna tell the truth as I see it, right? But nobody will know.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Have a great week, right, JP? Bernie? I mean, what are you gonna do?
Right. What are you gonna do?
So I'll catch you guys. Have a great week, and next week, see you. Same channel, same time. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Take it easy.